Welcome to Patty's Aquatics. My name is Adam and welcome to the fish room. So today I want to talk about my tanks, but I want to most importantly talk about my tanks that have my Undergravel filters in them. Now, if you didn't see those past videos, I got these from Aquarium Co-op. I absolutely love them. But there's one part of it I really want to touch on today, and I've seen it in comments quite a bit in a lot of those videos, and that was that they can't believe how crystal clear that my water is with these filters. So that's going to be the premise of the video today. I really wanted to do this for a little while now and really go over the reasonings behind why I believe this water is crystal clear and why I believe that this Aquarium Co-op Undergravel filter is a huge reason for it. So for with that, let's turn the camera around and let's get going. All right, so now if you're new here, I keep a variety of aquariums, and one thing I've been experimenting with quite a bit is filtration and substrate. And I've really been getting into undergravel filtration. Now, I'm not here to tell you that an undergravel filter is automatically better than a canister or hang on the back. That's not what this video is about. What I'm talking about really here is what I've personally been seeing in my tanks. And that thing that's really caught my attention is the water clarity. Now, these tanks are absolutely crystal clear. So today I want to answer one simple question, and that is why? Why does pulling water through a bed of gravel seem to make such a difference? And really to understand that, we need to start with what an undergravel filter is actually doing. So let's start with the basics. An undergravel filter is what's actually an incredibly simple design. You've got a plate under your substrate, you've got one or more uplift tubes connected to that plate, and you're using it either with an air pump or a power head to pull that water up through the tubes. Now, that obviously creates water flow. Tank water gets pulled down through the substrate, it passes through the gravel, and it reaches that undergravel plate. And then it pulls up the uplift tube and returns back into the aquarium. And that's it. Essentially, that is it. There's nothing complicated about it. There's no complicated cartridge. There's no giant canister full of media. There's no filter socks. The interesting part is that the filtration is happening across the entire bottom of the aquarium. Think about that for a second. With a traditional hang on the back filter, you have one relatively small intake. Water enters that intake, it passes through the filter media, and it gets returned to the aquarium. With a canister, you've got essentially the same concept. Water enters the intake, gets sent through the canister, and comes back into the tank. But with an undergravel filter, your entire substrate bed becomes part of that filtration system. And that's where things really get interesting. So let's talk about the first thing that's happening, and that's mechanical filtration. Now, mechanical filtration is basically the physical removal of particles from the water. Fish waste, uneaten food, plant debris, any tiny pieces of organic material, and all those things can add up suspended in your water column. And when they're suspended, that's what gives your aquarium that hazy or cloudy appearance. But look at what happens with an undergravel filter. Water is continuously being pulled down through this entire gravel bed. So instead of those particles just floating around the aquarium, they're being drawn down toward the substrate. And once they're down in the gravel, they're no longer floating around in your water column. Now, I want to make an important distinction here. Clear water does not necessarily mean clean water. You can absolutely have crystal clear water and still have terrible water parameters. You could have ammonia, you could have nitrate, high nitrates, you could have other problems that you can't even see. So when I say that the tanks are clear, I'm talking specifically about visual clarity. The water looks almost invisible, and that's what I'm trying to explain here. But mechanical filtration is only part of the story. And honestly, I think this is the part that gets overlooked when people talk about undergravel filters, because this gravel isn't just catching particles, it's becoming biological filtration. Every piece of gravel in your aquarium provides surface area, and that surface area gets colonized by beneficial bacteria. Those bacteria are absolutely critical to the aquarium nitrogen cycle. Your fish produce waste. That waste ultimately contributes ammonia. Beneficial bacteria convert ammonia into nitrite, and other bacteria convert nitrite into nitrate. And that's one of the fundamental processes that keep our aquariums functioning. Now, think about the amount of surface area you're getting. You've got bacteria living on your rocks, your decorations, your plant, your glass, your filter. But with an undergravel filter, you're also creating a massive bacterial colony throughout the entire substrate. And you're constantly moving oxygenated aquarium water through that substrate. That's important because you're not just giving bacteria a place to live, you're actively bringing water to them. Now, this is probably the most important concept in this entire video, and that's water movement. It's not simply the fact that you have gravel. It's the fact that you're continuously moving water through that gravel. Imagine taking a sponge and just throwing it into an aquarium. And it has surface area, but if water isn't moving through it very effectively, you're not getting the same benefit. Now take that same sponge and continuously force aquarium water through it. It's got a completely different situation. That's essentially what we're doing with the substrate. Water is being pulled through thousands upon thousands of little spaces between those pieces of gravel. I mean, that means the water is consistently interacting with that substrate. And the substrate is doing two jobs. It's providing physical filtration and it's providing biological filtration. And that's why I think undergravel filters can be so effective when it's set up correctly. Now, you're not just filtering water, you're making the entire bottom of the aquarium part of your filtration system. So let's bring this back to my aquariums, because this isn't just something I read in books or I decided to make a video about. I'm actually looking at these tanks every day. What I've noticed since using undergravel filters is that the water has this almost invisible quality to it. You look through the tank and it doesn't look like you're looking through water. It looks like that there's nothing there. And I think that's there for a few reasons for that. And number one, particles are continuously being pulled down into the substrate. Number two, the substrate provides an enormous amount of surface area for that beneficial bacteria. And number three, water is constantly moving through the biological filtration bed. Those three things work together, and I think that is honestly the secret. It's not one magical thing that an undergravel filter does. I really think it's the combination. Now, before everybody runs out and buys an undergravel filter, there are some things that we need to talk about, because undergravel filters, though they're not perfect, nothing is perfect, and there are some legitimate reasons why people don't like them. But one of the biggest concerns is that the substrate can accumulate a lot of debris, and yes, that is true. Remember what I said earlier, the substrate is catching particles. Well, those particles have to go somewhere. They're going into your substrate. And that's why maintenance does matter. You can't just install an undergravel filter, forget about it for like 5 years and expect everything to be perfect. You need to do maintenance on the substrate. That means doing proper gravel vacuuming and regular aquarium maintenance. The other important factor really is substrate selection. You don't want to use something so fine that's going to restrict water movement through your entire bed. You want a substrate that allows water really to move through it. So the success of an undergravel filter really depends heavily on how you really set it up. Like I got pea gravel in most of my aquariums here besides my Shiner tank, which is aquarium gravel, and I've had zero issues. So why are my tanks so crystal clear? I don't think there's one magic answer. I think it's the combination of what an undergravel filter does. You're creating mechanical filtration across the entire substrate. You're creating an enormous biological filtration area, and you're continuously moving aquarium water through that filtration bed. And when you combine all of that, you can get some seriously clear water. Now, am I saying undergravel filters are the best filtration system? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying something much simpler. Don't underestimate them. Just because sometimes the simplest filtration system is one of the most effective. And honestly, after seeing the water clarity I'm getting in these tanks, I'm really starting to wonder why I didn't go to undergravel filters much sooner. Now, if you're interested in these undergravel filters, I will put the link in the description for Aquarium Co-op. I do run their filters in my tanks and I absolutely love them, and I think they're a really cool product. So give them a try, but just in general, give undergravel filters a try if you haven't. Don't underestimate them, because they are talked of as old tech. I think there's a lot of old wives' tales when it comes to it. As long as you're doing your due diligence of maintenance and upkeep, I don't see why there should be issues with it. But that being said, let me know in the comments. Are you running Undergravel filters right now? Is your water crystal clear more than you have in any other tank before? Have you run Undergravel filters in the past? And if you had issues, please let me know. I would love to hear about it in the chat, and let's talk about it. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I hope to see you again next time here at Patty's Aquatics.